I'm not giving advice. I'm not giving suggestions. I'm not giving tips on every single fight in every single phase. I'm just going to give you a general thing that if you do this, your damage will be high. That's the good thing about Paladin. You don't have to optimize like really at all for your damage to be super good. Like Paladin is just that good. As long as your fight or flight windows and your rec windows are good, your damage is never going to be bad. This is just the basic opener. Now, the opener is going to be a little different. I only do 3 atonements in my opener because you don't have stacks of Sword Oath going into it. I'll show you the 4 atonement shit, but you have, basically you carry one of your Sword Oath stacks into your next fight or flight window. I'll show you that later. But right now, you just start with the Holy Spirit. Start to cast Holy Spirit at 2 seconds. It's free. Just free damage. You just do the fight or flight before your Riot Blade. In every fight or flight, you're going to get one of these Circle of Scorn, 1 Spirits Within, 2 Goring Blades. Use your pot here so it catches the Confiteor. You can also shift this. You can shift this around too. And then after your second Goring, which is right here, you just go into your rec window and then just blow all your shit. You basically just use this on cooldown. The only time you don't want to use this is when like you're like I think it's like 1 GCD before you use fight or flight, because you want to use 1 Spirits Within under your fight or flight. So because this is 30 seconds, your fight or flight is 25. So if you use this and then you fight or flight 1 GCD later, this isn't going to be up. So just make, I mean, that's really easy to do. I mean, just hold it for like 1 GCD if you need to. But you can just use this freely. This is on 25 seconds. You're going to always get in 1 of these, right? Also, if you use your pot here, you can get 2 of these under pot. So this is like the basic opener, man. This is just what I do. It's really easy. I hold all of my shit for raid buffs and a potion. It's the only one that I do that for. When you do like the 4 atonements, man, you just hold 1 of your Sword Oath stacks. That's it. All right, so I normally cast my shit at like 2 seconds, like 2 seconds on the timer, like 2 seconds on the timer. Like I said, man, I hold these 2 for like raid buffs and my potions. So we'll say potions here, right? You know, say potions there. I don't actually want to use a potion, but yeah, I like hold all my shit for my potion. It's like the only one that it's like the only one that I hold. And then you want to refresh like, you know, 3 seconds or less, something like that, man. You know. Oh yeah, crit. And then there's like rec. There's the rec opener, but I'm trying to think of a fight you use that on, man. You don't really use the rec opener very much. I mean, you do use it sometimes, but that's why I say Paladin for last, because this one was going to be the hardest to do. Because on Paladin, there's a lot of different things that you can do, but those things are discovered after. You don't start Shiva and just say, you know what, I think I'm gonna pop my fight or flight at like 15 seconds on the fucking pull macro. That's why it's really hard to give just general basic information, you know what I'm saying, without going to like step 3, step 4, you know what I'm saying, because it's really easy to go to those other steps. What I would recommend is doing this opener. Do this first. If you try to do all of this optimized shit later, it's gonna cost you more damage than if you just did the basic shit. You need to learn how to shift your GCDs if you're going to do that, if that makes sense. So you need to know when it is going to be a damage increase to cut one of your Holy Spirits and use an early Confiteor. You need to understand why you should do that first rather than just because someone told you. That's why like I knew Paladin was going to be a pain in the ass, because Paladin like openers and throughout the fight is very versatile. Like you can take portions of your rotation and you can move them around. It's kind of like Warrior, but it's more in depth. So if you don't know how to shift properly, it will be a lot less damage than just doing a basic rotation. That's my point. Paladin's rotation, you can shift portions of it to different spots. So to give you an example, there's some times where you can start with that opener that I just did. There's other times you can start with this opener. This is the rec opener. You just go in, you know, so your potion would be like here or whatever. We'll just say that's a potion, you know, whatever. You know, and then you just start with, you know, you just start with rec. That's pretty much it, man. It's pretty much it. Just start with rec. And then you would pop your fight. Now, obviously in this fight or flight, you can't have 4 atonements because you don't have any. You don't have any stacks of Sword Oath, okay? So you're not going to be able to do 4 atonements. But during your rotation, you want to get in the habit of using 2 atonements and then reapplying your Goring Blade. Okay? So like the Goring Blade's at 3 seconds, so you reapply it, went down to 2. So you want to get in the habit of doing this. And the reason why you want to get in the habit of doing this is because to get in 4 atonements, you're going to have to carry over one of your Sordo stacks. Paladin is very, very, very punishing if you fuck up. It's easy, but it's very punishing. If you don't do 2 Goring, 4 Atonement, and a Fight or Flight, you can really screw up your GCDs. Or let's say that you're supposed to reapply Goring, but you accidentally hit Royal Authority. That is really gonna fuck you. So here's the rec that I just did, the rec opener. I mean, it's pretty much the same, except for you just use rec first. This is the 4 Atonement, right? It's not, I mean, it's nothing too crazy. Okay, so you use this. Okay, so now you save that stack. You save this stack and you just pop your Fight or Flight. You just pop your Fight or Flight right before you're Goring. Okay, so now you've already used 1 atonement. Okay, you've already used 1 atonement. All right, now I want to say this. Okay, so there's 2 and 3. And now you have 2 GCDs left. Okay? So this is the 4th atonement. Alright? And then you just go into your rec. And this is like just your standard fucking rotation, man. This is just basic shit. The basics of Paladin is pretty fun and it's not very hard. You just want to make sure that when you use your Fight or Flight, you want to get 4 atonements, 2 Goring Blades, 1 Spirits Within, 1 Circle of Scorn, and 2 Intervene. That's literally it. For every Fight or Flight window, excluding the first one. And then for every Rec window, you just hit Rec, and then you Holy Spirit 4 times, and then you Confiteor on the 5th. You cannot use Confiteor sooner, because if you read Confiteor, you can only be used under Rec, and the effect fades upon execution. So, if you use Rec, and then you use Confiteor, it removes Rec, so you have to use this last. Whenever you hit Rec, no matter how many Holy Spirits you hit, you can hit 1, 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter. Whenever you hit this, your Rec is gone. You never want to use Fight or Flight with Rec. In some weird cases, you pop this early, but again, we're talking about basics here, okay? Fight or Flight does not buff Rec anymore because Rec used to be a physical ability, but it's not anymore, not in Shadowbringers. Rec is a magic ability, and Fight or Flight doesn't buff your magic, and your Rec doesn't buff your physical. With all that being said, man, it's like you have a physical phase, which is Fight or Flight, magic phase, which is Rec, and then you have a no buff phase, and then you just go back into your Fight or Flight, which is your physical. That's another thing too, is skill speed. I'm actually on 2.41. I just don't have any food. I like 2.41 on Paladin. 2.42 is fine too. Some people like even slower. But if you go too slow, then it's really hard to fit in 4 atonements. It's like really fucking hard to fit in 4 atonements. I would recommend going against super, super, super absolutely slow. Yo, boys, just to recap, man, I'm going to reemphasize, this is not an optimization video. This is a learn how to not be bad. This is a learn how to not fuck up your rotation and completely dumpster your damage. 4 atonements in Fight or Flight, 2 Goring Blades, Circle of Scorn, Spirits Within, 2 Intervene. When you do Rec, 4 Holy Spirit, Confiteor, you can cut one of those Holy Spirits later if you feel the need. You can play around with your rotation later. But for right now, man, I would really recommend just doing that. Because you have to remember, while this is easy, if you fuck up a single GCD, it's bad. It's really hard not to talk about like optimization and shit on Paladin, man, because it can do so much. Okay, so just like real quick, I'll just go over like AoE abilities. Depending on how many targets, okay? If there's like 2 targets, you're not gonna AoE. You're gonna just put up like Goring on both of them and shit. Because Paladin's AoE is actually pretty shitty. Whenever you pull dungeons, always fucking start with this shit, because this is a lot of fucking damage right here, man. Holy Circle, this is a lot of fucking damage. And then, yeah, I mean, you do want to AoE when there's, you know, like a shit ton of targets. It's obviously gonna be a DPS increase. On 2 targets, you don't want to do this AoE shit because it's better just to put up Goring Blade, but it's a fucking dungeon. Who fucking cares? You probably got Netflix on the other monitor anyway. Just fucking AoE, dude. Like, I mean, is it the highest damage? No, but doesn't matter. No. So it's up to you. You want a single target Goring, like 2 fucking targets, that's fine. You can do that too. Or you can just fucking do what I do. Like, I'm gonna be honest. When I run Paladin in dungeons, I just do this. Sometimes there'll be 1 enemy up and I'm just like, Oh, fuck. Okay, whatever. Like I really do not care. Like, but, you know, if you do care, then you want to goring on 2 targets. What is the best use for cover? Cover kind of sucks now, honestly. Cover is very niche. People think that if you use cover and pop hollowed ground, you take 0 damage, and that's not true. You still take full damage. Cover is one of those abilities that just doesn't work a vast majority of times. It's just completely useless a vast majority of times, but when it does work, it's fucking amazing. Real quick, let's go over like some cover options. So like in the current raid tier in E9, a Paladin can, instead of using a tank swap, a Paladin can cover the tank. They get hit with the first hit that puts the magic vuln, but it's transferred to the Paladin. Then you can actually run out, break the cover, and then that tank takes the tank buster. You can do tricks like that. You can do another trick where, let's say there's a knockback, you can cover a melee and they can keep uptime and stand in all the stupid shit, and you can mitigate that damage for them and you'll just get knocked back. So yeah, you're probably not going to use cover very often, honestly. Its uses are very limited, but when it does work, it's like super fucking good. Passage of Arm, this is where you're king simp. I don't know why it's worded this way. The people behind you only suffer 85% damage when it should just say, it just gives you 15% mitigation. Basically, when you're in this form, it's a channeled ability and you block everything from the front, and then you prevent 15% damage from the people behind you, which is stupid good. You can toggle it so you can use it as an off GCD, hold it for half a second, and then cancel it, and the players will still receive that buff for like an entire server tick. So you can like weave it in as like a raid ability, which is really, really good. Like basically you can do this. So like, let's say the group's right there. Okay, well I can just toggle it real quick. And that toggle will make everybody behind me have that mitigation for like, you know, a server tick. And it activates instantly. So you can use it kind of like a reprisal. You just have to use it like way later. And then Veil, unfortunately, Veil is the worst raid buff in my opinion, but it's still really good. But, you know, Veil is fine. It's just requiring a GCD to heal is kind of stupid. I don't know why it doesn't work like Shake. It should just work like Shake, you know? Clemency is also like super good. Paladin has 2 raid wides. That's why they're lacking like 1 personal defensive. Rampart's just Rampart. Sentinel. Sheltron blocks like all attacks, you know, for 6 seconds. It's basically just, you know, it's just like 20% or whatever. I mean, this is more or less the like raw intuition, just more or less like Heart of Stone kind of. Well, for yourself anyway. But then you have like intervention. You know, it can be buffed if you have these 2. You can just use this on someone. It's fine. The base is 10%, and then it's buffed for every time you use one of these. It can be super fucking good, man. It can be a 30% mitigation if you use like both of these. Like in the second buster in E12, the one that you hollowed ground, you can still pop both your cooldowns and give the other tank 30%. Fuck, boys. I can't really think of anything else, dude. Oh, right. Shield bash. Sorry. I like almost forgot about this ability. Yeah, you use it. You can fucking stun. It's whatever. It's like, you like fucking never use this shit, man. If you're gonna stun something, you're gonna use this. The amount of times that you want a 6-second stun over a 5-second stun is like fucking 0.